Hi, everyone. David Aragona and Mike Beer here, taking a look at the feature race at Aqueduct on Saturday. It is the Grade 3 Gotham going off as race 8 on a 10-race card. This one offering 50 Kentucky Derby qualifying points to the winner of this one-turn mile affair, and it's the only 50-point prep being contested around one turn, of course, being the local prep for the Wood Memorial later at the Aqueduct meet. And Mike, got a pretty interesting field of 10 runners signed on for this race. I don't know how many Derby implications this race is going to have on the first Saturday in May, but it's a pretty interesting race to handicap.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know about these horses going forward, at least as far as distance races go, but there's just a lot of horses in here who seem like they have some potential. We'll see who takes the step forward here. If nothing else, though, we do have a clear cut horse to beat in Sand Devil, who at this stage of the game, David, he's just faster than these horses.
Yeah, he and actually the second and third choices of my morning line are all New York bred. So the state bred program definitely heavy in this Gotham Stakes, and we'll see if they're able to have success. To get a sense of where Sand Devil and maybe his main pace rival Sacrosanct could be placed in the early portions of this race, let's take a look at the Timeform US pace projector. And Mike, Sand Devil's got plenty of early speed, but watching his races, he doesn't strike me as one that necessarily needs to be outright in front to have success. Sacrosanct being drawn to the inside of that rival is probably a little bit more under the gun.
Yeah, I thought Sacrosanct was probably the speed of this race. The good news for Sand Devil is he just seems like a handy kind of a horse, David. They're not going to be out there dueling if this pace is fast, but he shouldn't be outrun by it.
And note that the number 8 McAfee does have the LP flag, indicating he has the highest Timeform US late pace rating in this race, which would be relevant if things do heat up on the front end, which Timeform US predicts is a possibility with that fast pace flag showing up. Let's go through this field from the post position 1 out and begin with the number 1, Scorching. Mike, this horse will be making his first start on the dirt, but he's shown talent up at Woodbine, racing on synthetic and even turf last time. So we'll see if he's able to take a step forward, switching to a new surface. But I liked what I saw from him when he broke his maiden going the 6.5 furlongs on the all-weather 2-back, and he got the victory via disqualification last time. Not sure really what to make of that, since the horse that caused the interference wasn't really interfering with this horse, but he still ran well in that race.
Yeah, he did. I mean, we'll see how he handles the switch to dirt. Obviously, that's a major question. I'm with you. I liked his first 2 starts actually sprinting on the all-weather. In my opinion, he had absolutely no excuse last time. Maybe it was a turf race, obviously, and maybe the added distance just sort of worked against him a little bit. I thought he got a perfect trip in there and just wasn't quite good enough, but he still ran fine. I think he's interesting switching to dirt and cutting back a little bit. I mean, I can't say that I love him. I'm not going to lose money on him in this race, but I think he's kind of interesting.
Like a lot of these Ontario-bred pedigrees, most of his siblings have been run on synthetic surfaces, but he does have one sibling who did make a dirt start in the Prince of Wales and was third in that race, so maybe that's going to bode well for Scorching. The number 2 is Normandy Coast, and he's one coming in here second off a layoff for trainer Eddie Keneally. And Mike, I thought this horse showed some potential as a 2-year-old when he broke his maiden at Ellis Park. That was a 7-furlong race, and he did some work at the top of the stretch to kind of break away from that field. Got a little tired at the end, which 2-year-olds are apt to do, going the 7-furlong distance, but got a respectable 71 buyer that day, which if you project some natural maturity and routine improvement forward now to March of his 3-year-old season, he should be able to run faster. And I liked the fight that he showed last time when he came back off the layoff at Fairgrounds, because he was getting challenged on both sides through the stretch, and he never let those horses by, kept his head in front on the gallop out, so maybe he can handle some added ground.
I liked that about him too. He just seems like he's a really game horse. And in some ways, though, it's odd, David, because in some ways that's one of the knocks I have against him too. I mean, at least in my opinion, at this stage of the game, he's just more game than anything else. He hasn't really run a fast race yet. He's obviously going to have to improve quite a bit if he's going to be competitive in here. I think that's certainly a possibility, and he should be a good price, but he's the kind of horse who really has to move forward.
Up next is the number 3 Calling Card. He is one of those New York breds in the field, and this is a tough runner to assess, Mike, because he's one of these one-number horses where if you isolate that maiden win, which was achieved going the 1-turn mile distance at Aqueduct, he's very competitive in here because he beat New York breds that day by over 17 lengths, got an 87 buyer that stacks up pretty favorably against the 2 favorites in this race. It's just a matter of whether or not he can get back to that performance, because after that, they shipped him out of town, and while he didn't run terribly, he didn't get back to that 87 buyer he ran when he broke the maiden.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't really know what to do with him in here. I was duly impressed when he won that first dirt start with the big figure there. He looked really good winning. Um, he ran fine in those last two starts. He didn't run great. I didn't really see necessarily huge excuses for him, unless you want to say the sloppy track wasn't to his liking last time. I don't know, man. I thought he was a tough call in here. I can say this about him with confidence. I would want way more than the 6-1.
The number 4 is Sacrosanct, and kind of like the morning line favorite Sand Devil, he's done very little wrong so far in his career. Undefeated in 4 career starts, obviously all of those against the state breds, but he faced some pretty good foes in those races, Mike, including last time when he fended off National Identity. He was really stepped forward for trainer Danny Garkin in recent months. And while maybe you could say that Sacrosanct was lucky to win in the sense that the horse that could have run him down got completely stopped in traffic in the middle of the stretch, this is the horse that ran the best race of anybody because he was setting a very fast pace and really dug in late to hold on.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, I was going to bring up the same thing, so I'm glad that you brought it up. But this horse, if he had gotten run down by a perfect trip closer in that race, it would have been a brutal beat for this horse. He ran really well. He did all the hard work, as you mentioned too, David. Not only is the horse he's denying now National Identity, not only has that horse really gotten better, but early in the race, the horse to beat that he had to really deal with in there was Bold Fortune, who was a fast horse, and Sacrosanct had to race him early. That horse finished way back in the field, and Sacrosanct still held on. This horse ran way better than the figure might suggest last time.
Are you a little bit concerned about the mile for him? Because for me, I was a little underwhelmed by the mile race he ran 2 back.
I am. That was my main concern with this horse, especially if they make him go fast early in this race. I'm worried about the distance.
The number 5 is that morning line favorite Sand Devil, and he actually beat the exact same rival as Sacrosanct when he fended off National Identity to win the Damon Runyon in his most recent start. We'll take a look at the replay of that race, and totally different kind of race than that Great White Way division of New York Stallion Series that we just took a look at, because the early pace of this race was extremely slow. They were walking up front, and it kind of forced Sand Devil and this main rival of his to sprint home through the stretch. Mike, I don't know that we learned a lot more about Sand Devil in this race, but he had been visually impressive prior to this.
Yeah, agreed. I'm with you. I'm not sure that we found out anything here. Although I will say that you see him at a short price like that and really having to work to win. And I feel like I wouldn't be too hard on him for that. Just going so slow early in that race just allowed a decent horse to keep up with him. And in my opinion, National Identity was never getting by this horse through the stretch. I actually thought he ran really well last time. I like all of his starts, David. And the more I went through this field from top to bottom, the more I feel like he's just in another really, really good spot here, even though he's moving out of the state bred ranks. I'm not saying this horse is necessarily a Derby horse, but he's pretty good.
Up next is one of the bigger prices in this Gotham, the number 6 Pagode, who's just coming off a debut win at Turfway Park. And from a visual standpoint, Mike, I thought this horse looked like he might have forward to go because he was wide and stayed on a little greenly through the stretch to get the job done, certainly giving the impression that more ground would benefit him. Now he just has to answer the question of class and also whether he's going to handle the dirt.
Yeah, we'll see about the surface. He certainly has plenty of pedigree to stretch out, so I wouldn't worry about the mile for him. He's going to have to prove it on dirt. He's obviously going to have to get faster. But like as you've already sort of alluded to, he was super green, really wide early, super green through the stretch of that win last time, just sort of gawking at the stands. But he finally put his head down and got the job done.
Number 7 is Flood Zone, who might be a horse some people are interested in as the other Brad Cox runner in this race, who's likely to be a bigger price than Sacrosanct. And we'll take a look at the replay of his last race, where he improved a lot from his debut to show improved early speed and then really dig in at the 3/16 pole here to fend off a horse that was actually a much shorter price than him that issued a real challenge. And you could see Flood Zone kind of bumped that horse and then runs away from him to win this race at 16-1. Mike, he got an 85 buyer for this performance. It is tough to make dirt speed figures at Gulfstream, given how few dirt races they run. And this is a fig that I'm a little iffy on.
Yeah, me too. We'll see. Listen, that 85, I guess, suggests he's competitive here, and he does switch to the Brad Cox barn. I'm willing to be wrong about this. I don't like either of his races.
The runner-up in that race, who was the favorite, did come back to regress by 19 points when losing as the 4-5 favorite in his next start. The number 8 is McAfee, and this horse has garnered some buzz merely due to the pedigree, since he is the younger half brother to last year's Horse of the Year, Torpedo Anna. And Mike, this horse was impressive on debut at Churchill Downs, making a big run from far back to win going away at the end at 6 furlongs. Dutrow stretched him out to the mile last time, again at Churchill, catching a pretty soft starter allowance field. And you could argue that he should have run that race too, because he got put in tight down towards the inside and stayed on. They've tried to run him a couple times since then. He had a setback when entered in the Jerome, and then he was supposed to run in another starter race at Aqueduct earlier last month, but was a vet scratch, and sounds like this horse has had some trouble passing the vet.
Yeah, I mean, there are obviously things aren't going well for this horse right now. I thought he ran fine when he won his first career start. I did think he had a really good pace to come after, but he did make a nice run in that race. He probably was unlucky not to win his second start, but I'm still not sure what I'm not sure what any of that means. I mean, this horse, I'm not sure how good this horse is.
Mike, I'm interested to know what you make of the number 9 Garamond going out for the ever dangerous Chad Brown stable, because this horse has pedigree behind him, and he was certainly visually impressive on debut, overcoming a little bit of adversity. I'm just not sure what he was beating in that race, but he definitely shapes his moment some upside.
I'm worried about that maybe he was just in the right spot there. I did like just about everything he did in this race, though, David. Just sort of didn't break that sharp, but he got himself into position and then made an early move to take this race over. He's just going on with it through the stretch here. There's plenty to like about him. I feel like Chad Brown has one of these horses every year, and this is just anecdotal. I don't have anything to back this up. I didn't look up any stats or anything, but I feel like he has one dirt horse at Tampa every winter that I'm like, oh, this horse has a chance to be pretty good. And none of them turn out to be any good. I like this horse's debut. I'm interested to see how he runs here.
And then rounding out the field on the outside is the number 10, My Mitole. Sounds like Carlos Martin's a little bit on the fence about whether or not to actually run this horse in this race, according to the race advance from our colleague Dave Grenning. He would be coming back on just 15 days rest after winning actually the starter allowance race that today's rival McAfee was scratched from 2 weeks ago. Mike, he looked good that day, and it seems like a horse that's definitely taken a step forward since returning from a layoff last fall. This is just a big step up in class.
Yeah, I think this horse is okay, and I like his running style. He's got some things going for him. It just kind of feels like maybe if they run him here, he'd be stepping into a race that could be too tough for him at this stage of the game. He should be a price if they do run.
Well, before we get to our picks, everybody, make sure to subscribe to the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel to get other videos like this, including the 2 previews that Mike and I did of the other Derby preps taking place this week, the Fountain of Youth and the San Felipe. And if you agree or if you disagree with any of the thoughts we put forth in this video, leave us a comment and let us know what you think of this Gotham Stakes. Let's throw up our picks for the Gotham. And Mike, you're going to land on Sand Devil. He's the morning line favorite. He's the horse to beat in this race, and he's just done nothing wrong on the racetrack so far.
Yeah, I just thought that maybe they just found another really good spot for him, David. And the more I went through the other horses that I tried to make, I really couldn't quite get there. I'm interested to see how Chad's second time starter Garamond runs here, but I don't really want to bet him. I tried to talk myself into the 1 Scorching, and I just couldn't quite get there.
Yeah, and if you're trying to beat Sand Devil, I think you're looking to a horse with upside. You mentioned Garamond. I'm going to take a shot with the number 2, Normandy Coast, who obviously is going to have to get a lot faster. I just like the grit and tenacity that he showed in his last 2 starts, so hopefully he's able to take that step forward, second off the layoff. 2, 5, 3, 4 for me, and 5, 9, 1, 4 for Mike in the Grade 3 Gotham on Saturday. Good luck if you're playing the races this weekend.